On today's show,
the Grizzlies are limping into the playoffs. Is there cause for concern in Memphis?
it's time for Brent Barry to hand out some hardware in the second annual Bonies.
And keep your eye on the ball. Oh, we got another round of weekend whoopsies.
It's Monday, March 30th. The starter starts now.
Good evening, Sweet World, and welcome to the starters. Whether you're joining us live online, listening to the podcast, or catching us on NBA TV, very happy to have you. I'm Jay Skeets, and alongside me, as always, that's Tass Mellis.
17 regular season nights of basketball remain.
Who's counting, though? To my right, starters blog editor Trey Kirby.
Hey-o!
Hey-o! And finally, the international man of mystery, taking it to the max, Lee Ellis.
Amigos.
Lee, all right. Fun show, fun Monday show for you. We got Brent Barry back in the Bone Zone. He's going to hand out some NBA hardware. He's going to beat us to the punch with that. And we also have a new round of weekend whoopsies. But first, we're doing fill in the blank again. We asked you to play along at home. Fill in the blank with your answers on Twitter. Hashtag the starters. First one, Tass. Fill in the blank. The Grizzlies are stumbling here down the stretch. And the biggest cause for concern is blank.
I think it's a bit of an identity crisis. Not to overblow what's going on. It's a 3-game losing streak. They could easily make this up the next couple of weeks and come back to their normal selves. But it's just the way they're doing it. The Memphis Grizzlies know how to rebound. They know how to play defense. And these last 3 wins, or 3 losses, I should say, they haven't been like themselves. They're minus 14 to the Spurs in rebounding, getting beat by smaller front lines of Andrew Bogut and Draymond Green. That's not them. Allowing 14 offensive rebounds to the Warriors. We know they can't score. We know that they're going to have some games where they try and win 85, 86 to 81. But they've been giving up so many points, and that's their concern over the last few games. Everybody goes through these dry spells. There's a ton of reasons why the Grizzlies are going through one. It's just, to me, looking at them when they're not playing defense, it's a bit of a worry.
And I don't think we're going overboard here. Yes, the last 3 games were to the Cavs, Warriors, and Spurs.
Hottest teams in the
Those
league.
are, some of the hottest teams in the league. But over the last, 20 or 21 games, this is a 500 squad. So we're looking at a bit of a bigger picture here with the Grizzlies in terms of their struggling.
And like Tass said, it's kind of weird to see it from the Grizzlies because some of the problems have been just coming out and not really having much energy. That happens to a lot of teams sort of this time of year, especially the Grizzlies have been cruising kind of all year. They've been at the top of the standings in the West. They're kind of getting banged up. They're having a little bit of chemistry problems, it seems to be, and they just seem to be getting tired of playing basketball at this point. Getting to the playoffs is going to help, but you have to kind of sort out your all lineups and all that kind of stuff beforehand.
I think you're right about maybe fatigue being a bit of the issue here, especially when you look at a guy like Marc Gasol, who's sort of asked to carry the loads on both ends, defensively in terms of like barking out orders and running that defensively, and offensively. We know his usage rate went up. They went through him a lot more. You just wonder at this point, is he just a little tired? Is he a little run down from, again, sort of carrying them for a good chunk of the season?
It could be that, but because when their defense struggles, it's usually because of the perimeter, and that's what happened certainly against Golden State and Cleveland in that third quarter. Both of those teams just could not miss hitting 3-pointers, and so if Marc Gasol can't really affect the game defensively in the paint, then it really puts pressure on the Memphis perimeter defenders, and so far we've seen them a little bit looser than they normally were, especially at the start of the season. But again, I think it just comes back to them being so good for so long. They started out the season red hot, and now it's just kind of catching up with them a little bit. And you can't blame a team for kind of looking forward to the playoffs right now. They've been pretty much there or thereabouts for such a long time. They just want to get there and see what they can do. Because in the playoffs, those things tend to tighten up a little bit, and that's where I think Memphis will be okay.
The reason why they should be playing a little bit looser and playing better, though, is that they might lose home court advantage.
Right.
They're on the verge of that. And yeah, they haven't been playing well defensively or offensively, for that matter, the last 20 games or so. But you look at it, from top to bottom in the Western Conference, a lot of teams aren't playing well against the very good teams. Memphis is 6-6 against winning teams since the All-Star break. Houston 6-5. San Antonio 7-5. Clippers are 6-6. So it's not a huge worry, but the fact is the Warriors are the only team that's running away with home court advantage. Any of these teams can slip into the 5 or 6 spot. It's that tight.
No, you're right. We had Ken Bazemore with the Hawks on last week, and he even said, look, we're just looking ahead to the playoffs.
Yeah.
We know we're a good team. We've got a great record. It's a little different in
But
the West.
them and the Warriors can.
Yeah, they can do that
because they've clinched it.
It's not as easy, you're right, for the Grizzlies, because home court advantage is going to be huge, we would think. Or maybe not, because these teams are so evenly matched. Who really knows? You just want to be healthy. What do you guys think about the way Jeff Green's been playing over the last little while? Even Courtney Lee, I know, struggling to shoot the basketball. These guys are sort of instrumental to the Grizzlies' offense, at least.
Well, I think we kind of look at Jeff Green jumping in there and we think, oh, they've got a ton of wings, but they all have to sort of be playing well because they're all not takeover guys.
Right.
They all just need to chip in and do their part. And Green's been fine the last few games. Since he's become a Memphis Grizzly, he hasn't been great. I'm a little bit more worried about Courtney Lee, his poor shooting. I think that's very, very important because we know Courtney Lee is a great three-point shooter. Jeff Green is sort of hit and miss from the three-point line. So I think they all have to be chipping in, along with Tony Allen, who has a hamstring injury.
Right.
He's just very important for their tenacity, the way they come out and play hard.
All right, moving on. Next one here, guys. Fill in the blank. Daryl Morey's claim that the Rockets can win the title this year is blank.
It's presumptuous. Slow your flow, Daryl.
Yeah.
I don't see the need to come out and pump these guys' tires because that's what I feel it is. I feel he's just trying to tell these guys, you're good enough, you're strong enough, you can do it. I don't get it. They haven't won a playoff series with James Harden as their lead guy. They haven't done that. Let's win one first.
Baby steps.
I think what he
yeah.
should say is I have confidence in this team. We'll take it one series at a time. I think he's putting pressure on these guys. And listen, James Harden is the player this year that he's never been in the past. He looks fantastic. But I think it's putting unneeded pressure on these guys. They had home court advantage in the playoffs last year, and they lost to the Blazers, as we see here, in 6 games. I think we just need to relax and let them go into the playoffs, and hopefully as a 2 seed, because that would be a really favorable matchup for them against the Dallas Mavericks.
If I'm filling in the blank, I'm saying, this is a lie now. Because
lie?
it's a lie because Patrick Beverley now, we just learned, of course, today that he is not going to be with this squad for the rest of the season. He's going to get wrist surgery.
Well, Morey said we think we can win the title with or without Patrick Beverley before this news came out as well.
Yeah, again, he's wrong. I really think he's either underestimating the value that Patrick Beverley gives to this team defensively to try and take some of these amazing point guards in the West, and now it's Jason Terry and Pablo Prigioni. Yeah, someone's going to throw out that the Rockets are 9-0 when Jason Terry is starting, and Ariza can pick up some point guards, and Corey Brewer's going to try. I get that. But he's important. Look, he spaces the floor with Harden. Beverley does. He can hit the three, and defensively he's huge.
I'm not too worried about it. I think losing Patrick Beverley hurts, and it's definitely going to be a problem at times, but the Harden Jason Terry lineups have been better all year on both sides of the ball than Harden and Patrick Beverley. And like you're saying, Trevor Ariza can pick up a point guard when they need him to. Corey Brewer can do it just here and there. They don't need you to guard a point guard the entire 48 minutes. Those last 4 minutes, you put Trevor Ariza on and it's going to be fine. I personally think they're going to be okay because Patrick Beverley, while an important part of their team, as long as they have James Harden, that's really all that matters for the Houston Rockets.
I tend to agree with Trey there on Patrick Beverley's impact, but I think the biggest concern for Houston is they potentially have to beat San Antonio, Golden State, and Cleveland if they are going to go and win the title. Those series you figure will go at least 6 games if they were to go there, and I'm not quite sure Houston can really go for that far into the playoffs. So I think they can be very, very good, but I think their path right now is very rocky.
Yeah, it's funny that we're talking about the finals for them. There's no need to talk about the finals for them.
No,
it'd
win
be an
the first
accomplishment.
round.
It'd be an accomplishment for them to win the first round. And I think you'd look at it and you'd think, this was a pretty good year for us. As far as Patrick Beverley goes and Jason Terry goes, Jason Terry has a lot of playoff experience when he gets out there. He can space the floor. Patrick Beverley is the defensive guy that they need out there. I'm not extremely worried. I'm just more so worried about this guy, about Harden taking on too much of a load all the time, playing point guard, as he does, and having to do it night in and night out. Like last year in the playoffs, he took 9 threes a game in round 1. He wasn't getting into the lane. I think this is a new player, a healthier player, a fitter player. So I'm really excited to see what Harden does night in and night out in the postseason.
I just think it's so key, Beverly, when let's say you come up against a team like the Spurs. Okay, so one guy's got to take Tony Parker. So maybe Ariza suddenly the guy's trying to shut down him. But then, of course, they got a guy like Kawhi Leonard. Someone's got to try to, it's such a huge loss defensively again. That's, of course, because you're right. Harden is the point guard on offense. That's not the problem. He's facilitating. I think it's a huge, huge loss for them, and still going to be tough to even get out of that first round. Nothing given there in the West. All right, final one, a fun one. Fill in the blank again. Play along on Twitter. Blake Griffin's spinning block was what?
As graceful as a figure skater. I mean, check the axle on this guy.
Sock out.
The axles.
I think he looks like a figure skater. Just hanging in the air. Beautiful landing. Landed beautifully. 6.0. Autistic.
And he gets possession as well. That's incredible.
He did touch the rim there, didn't he?
What a play, though.
Yeah.
Wait, watch his one
Well,
hand.
he touched the rim.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That is
And he starts his own fast break. That's a great play.
But Lee, you've watched basketball your entire life since you came into the womb. Have you ever seen a block like that?
No, nothing quite like that. No.
That's what I'm saying.
No. Hakeem Olajuwon's the best block I've ever seen on Rod Strickland.
Okay.
When Hakeem turns it over,
Thanks.
Rod's going for a layup, and Hakeem wipes it away.
Thanks for throwing that in there, Lee. Very cool.
Sorry, we don't have the footage.
Yeah, we'll get it.
I still think LaFonso Ellis's block is one of the best blocks of all time, but hey, that's an argument for another day. Yeah,
I like DeAndre Cubs as well. He's ready to swat it.
Yeah, this was getting blocked 3 different times, it seems.
Jerebko looks genuinely confused. He's like, didn't he just fly by me, and how did he block that? All right, let's hear what you guys think. Fill in those blanks. Got to take a break. When we come back, Brent Barry joins us live in studio to hand out his NBA hardware. Yes, it's the 2nd annual Bonies. Back with the starters into the Bone Zone. 2-time NBA champ, Brent Barry.
Hi, guys.
Bones.
Nice to see you guys.
Good to see you again.
Hey, man.
Let's get right into it. As you may or may not know, Monday, April 6th, we have the Starties, which is our Year of the End award show. We had a lot of fun. Kristen Ledlow hosted it last year.
Yeah.
She's going to be
You guys had a
hosting.
really nice set, right? Last year, I mean, you guys really did it up nice.
We wore suits and everything.
First class.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. But before we get to the Starties, again, April 6th, we got to get to the Bonies.
Love that picture from the Heat.
Look at that.
2nd annual.
A cup of coffee with the Miami Heat.
It was
worth out on Biscayne Bay.
Yeah, well, that's great. So yes, it's the Bonies here, where you actually hand out your NBA hardware for some of the awards, and we'll start with defensive player.
Let's correct this. I'm just giving you my opinion on who
you
I
don't
think
get a vote.
will win. No, I don't vote, but I'm just throwing out who I would maybe give it to. That's the way we go.
That's fine.
Okay.
Hey, don't get angry at Brent Barry on Twitter, okay?
Yeah,
It's just his
exactly,
opinion.
please.
All right, first one, Defensive Player of the Year. Who do you have for it?
I'm going to go to my notes.
Yeah.
Draymond Green is my Defensive Player of the Year. I really think what he's been able to do, because you can classify so many things and quantify so many things statistically, the way that Draymond Green has played this year for the Golden State Warriors, and to me the defining moment for him was the month that Bogut missed. They got better defensively with him on the court, and that's a guy who people were saying anchors the Golden State defense, and he still does.
Sure.
But Draymond Green, to me, is the Defensive Player of the Year. His versatility, being able to play really the 5-through-1 position, switching out, and then what he does offensively. You might even throw him in as most improved player, but Defensive Player of the Year, I would say Draymond Green is the guy.
Hard to argue that.
Yeah, we will
He can
possibly
switch
argue it when we get to the
everybody.
Starties. You're right.
I love how Kirk calls him a Rodman, that he can guard 1 through 5, because he instills fear in guards out on the perimeter, and then he'll play a 5 and bang with anybody.
Yeah, we say that big guys always win the Defensive Player of the Year. Is that going to be a problem at all for him? Because, I mean, he's sort of a big guy, but he's sort of a wing player. It's hard to say.
I read, Trey, that over the last 27 years, only 2 real non-rim protectors have won the Defensive Player of the Year.
Ron Artest
and Gary Payton.
Right.
So the fact that you're talking about a guy who technically would not be considered a big, even though he plays the 4 spot, 5 by default.
Yeah.
He really isn't a big guy. He's really a small forward. So for him to win the award would be saying something with how much it is that people talk about rim protectors being the most important part of your defense. For what he can do on the perimeter speaks volumes to how much impact he's had for Golden State.
It's a new game.
Absolutely.
Can't put him in a box.
Absolutely. All right, next one here. 6th Man of the Year. This is an interesting one. Who do you have for 6th Man of the Year?
I voted for Isaiah Thomas.
Okay.
Vote. I don't have a vote.
you
I
do
would
have a
say
vote in the
Isaiah
votes.
Thomas would be it. Now, it was interesting. You go Isaiah Thomas, Jamal Crawford, Lou Williams. Those are the 3 guys that came to my mind.
Yep.
Isaiah Thomas is shooting the best percentage at 41%.
Yeah.
Not great, but that's the best of these 3 guys.
Yeah.
But it's the fact that Isaiah's been able to do this in 2 different situations and continue to impact his team in a positive way coming off the bench. First in Phoenix to start the year, and then in Boston, such an important part of their offense. They have the worst starting unit, so he's so vital to what Boston's trying to do to close out this season to get into the playoffs. He also averages 4 assists. He really makes plays for the team as well. So Isaiah Thomas, to me, has taken over, especially with Jamal Crawford having the injuries this year to end the season. Whether or not he returns will be interesting. And Lou Williams kind of floated in and out, a little inconsistent, even though averaging 15 points coming off the bench. Isaiah might be the guy.
All
this year.
three of those guys so similar in a weird way,
So-
though. You're
yeah,
right, like,
absolutely.
Pretty low shooting percentages, but then have games where they go for 35, and then
And their games are to kind of have a
Yeah, a little
quirky,
bit.
jerky, similar offensive attack where they just go at a guy, they draw some fouls in interesting ways. But Isaiah Thomas, to me, might get that award this year.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a tight race between those three. Maurice Spates, some people throwing in there too. I know he's playing. He doesn't play a lot of minutes, but he's really efficient in the minutes he does play. So that's a tough one. All right, let's keep it going here. Who does Bones have in the second annual Bonies for most improved player?
I have to say Jimmy Butler. I know he's missed a lot of games, but the impact that he had on the Chicago Bulls and the run that he had in the first 2 months of the season still, to me, holds up as to warranting the award going his way. Stepping up from 13 points a game to 20 points, from 40% last year shooting up to 46%. But it's the way that he's played this year as opposed to last year being the defensive stalwart for them on the perimeter. Attacking the rim, getting to the free throw line, throwing them down in the post, making plays. I mean, we're talking about most improved player and how many levels his game got better at a time when it was desperate for Chicago to stay in the Eastern Conference hunt for a home court advantage in the first half of the year, trying to get off to a good start with Derrick Rose hurts. I think that Jimmy Butler still deserves that award. Now, there are other guys out there. I mentioned Draymond Green. You might throw him in there. Gordon Hayward, quietly, nobody talks about his improvement. 4 years in a row now where he's improved his points.
I like that one.
You got to look at some of his numbers, but Gordon Hayward has a fantastic year, and you could say he's improved.
What about
they drop
guys-
off so much against their opponents when he is not playing.
Right.
The disparity when Gordon Hayward's not on the floor for Utah is huge. So
What about guys that, I mean, you're taking guys that were sort of maybe good and become sort of great. What about guys that were sort of like nobodies, like maybe Hassan Whiteside or Rudy Gobert, and are suddenly like key players?
I love those guys, but the fact that they came on really halfway through the season and got opportunities, it's not to take anything away from the impact they've had on their teams. Hassan Whiteside's been a fantastic story this year, the way that he's controlled the paint for the Miami Heat, especially in the wake of all their injuries. And we know the impact defensively Gobert has had on Utah minus Enes Kanter. I don't think that Trevor Booker has any problems with Enes Kanter being in Oklahoma City, given recent comments. Gobert has been fantastic. So not to take anything away, but Jimmy Butler, to me, as a most improved player candidate, still would take the award. And the other guy who I might slip in there that I hope gets a mention is Donatas Motiejunas. I think his year has been fantastic with Dwight being out. He's one of the best post-up players in the NBA. I mean, you got to watch and see what he does to create offense down on the block. But he's been great as well.
What's cool about him is we watched him at Summer League.
He was great.
And we all watch him at Summer League. We're like, okay, how great is this guy going to be?
Yeah.
And then to be a key player on a contender is really cool.
Absolutely. All right, final one. A little bit of time left for most valuable player. Let's get to the granddaddy of them all here. MVP.
Okay, so Westbrook and LeBron James have had great years. LeBron quietly, but people are tired of talking about LeBron James, and they shouldn't be. Should still be recognized. And Russell is Russell.
Yeah.
It's between Harden and Curry. And if you look at what those guys have done, I still select Steph Curry as my most valuable player for this year. I think his consistency all year long. If you look at numbers post All-Star break, James Harden's shooting less than 40%. Steph Curry, since the All-Star break, has gotten even better. And he had a great first half of the year. But the telling stat to me is the completeness of Steph's game in terms of what he's been able to do defensively, what he's doing in terms of facilitating, what he's doing in terms of scoring. Steph Curry, most valuable player.
Look, it's
17 fourth quarters he hasn't played.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're
imagine if
so
they
good,
relied on the good times of Steph Curry closing out games.
What his numbers would be, for sure.
Absolutely. There it is, second annual Bonies.
And they mean absolutely nothing.
No, they mean everything to us.
You're getting them,
Thank you.
Thank you so much, bud. We got to take a break. When we come back, you got to watch those Hibberts, guys. Watch the Hibberts. Weekend whoopsies coming up.
Can we get a wedgie?
I know.
It's been a drought, man. It's very sad.
Back with the starters. Let's get to the weekend whoopsies.
Steven Adams gets hit down under with the basketball here. Takes him a second, then he grimaces in pain for a long period of time. What was funny was that he hurt his wrist. He's going after offensive rebounds like a madman with no problem. But when that happens, you got to take a breather.
That hurts. Saturday, Will Barton throws it off Wright's rump and then throws down the hammer. I mean, he played for them, so he knows Darrell Wright's defensive tendencies.
Knows his
Doesn't look at the
backside.
ball.
Yeah, turn your head around, Darrell.
Shout out to Scottie Pippen. That's who that always reminds me of. He's the king of that.
Saturday, while the Bulls were smoking the New York Knicks, Joakim Noah, Jimmy Butler took a sec to get in on the wave.
Now
United Center having a good time.
Does Jimmy Butler jump the gun here?
A little, yeah.
A little bit.
Well, they don't do the wave too often. They're rooks.
You're right. You're right. Sunday, Grizzlies Spurs. Jeff Green going for the rebound.
Nice.
A classic whoopsie, where he accidentally tips it in. Gonna give those points to Baines, right?
Bainesy.
Australia for
Yeah.
2.
Yeah, good stuff.
Take them how you get them.
On Sunday, the Thunder on a fast break. DJ Augustine finds Russell Westbrook, or is it Enes Kanter for the alley-oop? Russell Westbrook dunks on his teammate. Right on his teammate. Kanter tweeted after the game, LOL, just got posterized by Russ West 44. Good job, brother. Haha. Good team win. Hashtag Thunder up. Yes, you did get posterized.
He laughs it off with the ha. Same game. Russell Westbrook gets called for the foul, or he's a little confused. Was I called? Was that on me? Goes over to referee Ron Garrettson and, wants to talk it out. But Ron says, no touching!
Get those hands away from me.
Doesn't want a sweaty man around.
Yeah, get away from me. I like it, Russ. Come on, man. Let's talk it over.
I don't really like this one because Iman Shumpert blows the breakaway dunk and he tweaks his ankle on the play. He should be fine. He should be fine.
Yeah.
But look at that hair flowing.
Slowing them down.
Look at that.
Oh, man.
It's like in a wind tunnel.
Yeah.
Misses the dunk. The ankle should be okay. Iman's ego, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I was going to say. That's why he didn't come back into the game. Hopefully the ankle's fine. You're right. He should be. You're right. All right, let's unleash the starters fantasy unicorn. It's Monday, which means we've got your pickups of the week presented by the General Insurance. Some of you into the finals in your leagues, your fantasy leagues. So Lee, a couple pickups for them.
Prior to yesterday's game, Jay Crowder had been on a nice streak, scoring in double figures in 7 of his last 8. I think he can return to that. Gerald Henderson has had his best month of the season in March, averaging 15 points on 49% shooting, and I don't think he'll show any signs of slowing down soon. But Tiago Splitter is the guy to grab, also having a really good month of March, averaging 11 points on over 60% shooting. And the key is here, he's playing 23 minutes a game, and you know that Greg Popovich is probably going to rest Tim Duncan down the stretch, so I expect Tiago Splitter's minutes will continue to stay around that mark. He's only owned by 25% of the league, so if he's available, grab him.
Also playing in 4 games this week.
That's huge. That's key. Congratulations to Tassie, by the way, who is into the finals of
did
the
it,
Starters
man.
Fantasy League.
Here we go. One more week, Tess.
I wish I was playing my buddy Grish, but Lance Fresh will have to do.
All right. Final break when we come back. Friday night's pick and payoff results and Lily's very solid play. Back with the starters looking at Friday night's pick and payoff results. Good night for both Tass and I. We went 4-1 on Friday night. We split the games we disagreed on. So nothing changes. I'm up 2 games in the month of March. Only 2 nights left in this month. And we agree on all 5 games. That's great news for me, because you can't gain any ground at least. We like the Hornets, the Sixers, the Hawks, the Rockets, and the Jazz. So it'll come down really to tomorrow night.
March the 31st.
That's right. That's right. Lee, before we get to the very solid play, I got a few fan signs.
Yes, we do. The first one comes in from TV Awesome 2211 in Toronto, which he calls the basketball capital of Canada. If you notice on there, he's got some Toronto things, including
It's got a lot on there.
the Basketball Jones.
Who?
Some guys in Toronto, apparently. The second one comes from Zeppa777 in Philadelphia. He's got the starter sign there. Very solid play equals passes of the night. Yeah, sort of, yeah.
Well, it usually does. So let's find out if it is.
Well, this one is a magic trick here from Marc Gasol. Watch the ball here, because he loses it. It goes invisible, and then it just somehow finds its way to Zach Randolph. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Beautiful for a layup. Honestly, Marc Gasol is a magician. I might call him Magic Gasol from now on. I don't think that nickname's taken, is it?
No.
Anyway, that's a beautiful layup, and that's what I call a very solid play.
I gotta be honest, that's a weird one.
Pass of the night right there.
That's a weird one. All right, guys, thanks for joining us. Back tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. Eastern here on NBA TV.
Thanks for joining us, folks. And remember, yes, thanks to politeness. No thanks to rudeness.
Brace the night, people.